Good morning, everybody. Welcome back to the channel. This is United vs. Everybody. I am your host, Sean, and we are back this morning on a very, very snowy morning where I am. It is literally a blizzard outside where I am, and it is not looking like it's stopping anytime soon. So I'm not going anywhere to watch this match later on today, but we're here today for another scouting report. This one's a little different because it's a player that I've discussed in the past before, whether that's in transfer target videos or transfer rumor videos or videos for like United January bargain signings and stuff. We've talked about this guy a couple times now. We've been linked with him a couple times now. I guess the thumbnail sort of gave it away, but today we're going to take a look at Sverre Nypan. That's how you say his name. I looked it up. Mostly because I want to share with you all why I and several others in the UVE community rate this kid so highly and why we really were excited to be linked with him, why we really wanted United to sign him. Basically, today I'm going to show you what all the hype is about. So like the video, subscribe to the channel if you are new. Check the membership perks too if you want to see how you can see some players, some scout report videos on players that you want to see. Go check out the membership perks. They explain all that to you. So let's get stuck in. Danny is in the house, already getting the popcorn ready because he is excited for this one, I'll bet. Dan, I mean, we talked about him several times, bits and pieces here and there, a little bit of the profile player he is, a little bit of statistics. Today we're going to go through all of it. Danny says, I really hope he's held out for us in the summer. Well, we'll see. Fingers crossed, right? So, as always, we're just going to get started with a little bit of background on this young footballer. So, still very, very young. Nypan only just turned 18 in December, basically right when Rosenborg's domestic season ended. Remember that the Norwegian league goes from like March until December. But he actually made his debut for Rosenborg when he was just 15, first team debut. He broke the club record at the time for youngest player to feature in the league, and then he became the youngest player to start a league match for them at 15 years old. That's insane. He also became the club's youngest ever goal scorer in May of 2023, just a couple months after he made his debut. So he was already flying at the time. He's a record breaker in that regard. Absolute record breaker. You guys see where I'm going with this. The kid's a baller, and he's already a leader in that Rosenborg side. The Guardian 2023 actually named him as one of their 60 best young talents in football, along with many others that you guys will probably recognize. I didn't go through all the list, but Danny says 18 months or more when I first heard of him, wanted him straight away. Yeah, that's usually the way it works, right? So again, such a bright young talent at such a young age, debut 15, breaking records. He's only just turned 18 years old. So what does he do at Rosenborg? At Rosenborg, Nypan wears a few different hats. His main position is really a left-sided 8. They do play primarily a 4-3-3, but he can also play as a 10, and he can actually also play as like a false 9, like center forward kind of player as well when called upon. But he does tend to spend most of his time on the ball, well inside the opposition half, on that left-hand side, where he can really involve himself in really in everything that's happening in the final third. Here's a heat map for his last season at Rosenborg, just this past season. So you can see where he sees a lot of the ball. You can see there's most of it is just inside the opposition half on that left-hand side. Again, advanced 8, playmaking 8, that's going to happen. But then you can also see a little deeper in his own half. So he's not afraid to, when they've got the ball or when not the ball, to track back and get involved and launch the attack as well. Very, very good young midfielder, able to offer a little bit off the ball as well. Rosenborg have the third highest possession in their league last season, so they're going to see a ton of the ball. So he's going to have lots of time to showcase his talents in that regard. He excels at making late runs into the box as well, but really he thrives when he has the ball and he's allowed to basically dictate tempo and just the overall play. Kind of like we've seen Bruno do, kind of like what we see Odegaard do, De Jong do, João Neves do. When he can do that, he thrives. Vitinha is another one. But it's because he's excellent on the ball, Nypan. He's press resistant, insanely creative when it comes to chance creation as well. It's been a while since I've seen a midfielder play the kind of balls that he can play. He likes, in that 8 role, he likes to position himself in those pockets, the half spaces, the channels, ahead of the ball. He likes to receive the ball, put himself in good positions to receive the ball, turn and make something happen. He's very good at creating space for himself, even when he's pressed in that regard. When he receives the ball, he either keeps things going, again, as that bridge he can play quick, short passes, little 1-2s and movements, or he has excellent close control to really find a way past his opponents, drop the shoulder, a bit of trickery, a bit of riding a challenge, to get the ball forward. And that's what we need more of in that midfield. We need ball progression, players who are comfortable under pressure, players who are press resistant, good with the ball at their feet. His vision and reading of the game are so impressive for someone so young. He's been compared to Frankie de Jong, Martin Odegaard by several outlets, by other players, coaches. As I've said before, his chance creation, the kind of balls he can play, especially in that final phase of attack, are stellar. He has that, like I said the other day, he has that silky kind of off rhythm final ball, that final little through pass, like you've seen like Odegaard do, or like what Goody used to do, where he'd be on the run and then just kind of on the off step, he manages to just thread the needle and find an attacker making a little bit of run. And he does it through crowded areas, nutmegging people. Like, it's a thing of beauty to watch him play. And again, he has that ability to slip a pass through those tight areas. He says 100 great profiling, Sean. Thank you, Danny. I appreciate that, my friend. So let's look at some numbers here. I've told you a little bit about the way he plays, the profile the player is, where he's primarily going to play on the pitch. Let's look at the numbers, because this is where it all comes together here. So in last season at Rosenborg, he scored 8 goals and he provided 7 assists. The assists were the most at the club, the 4th highest in the Norwegian league, and he's actually in the top 15% for midfielders when it comes to that. It's a massive jump from the 5 goals and 1 assist from the previous year when he was just 16 years old. And he's actually 7th in the league overall last year for goal involvements as an 18-year-old. Very, very good. I'd put money down right now that he'll probably get double-digit goals and double-digit assists in the upcoming season, because the way that his path is just on an upward trajectory, I wouldn't be surprised. 7 of his goals are also from inside the box. Again, getting in those advanced positions, getting into dangerous areas. That's why I see him in a very specific role at United. Now, remember, Rosenborg's season runs from March to December. So keep that in mind as well when it comes to watching him this season, because he's only going to have about half a season, comparatively speaking, to the Premier League before we maybe look at him again. But keep that in mind. 7 big chances created as well. 2 tackles per 90, which on average, which again, you're like, 2 tackles, cool. From an attack-minded, advanced, young midfielder playing first-team football, 2 tackles per 90 is very, very, very good. He's got the 12th highest dribbles in the Norwegian league per 90 as well. So again, very, very good at carrying the ball. He's also, as he's gotten older and as he's bulked up a little bit, he's also worked on his defensive output. Again, those 2 tackles per 90. His duel numbers, his possession 1 and the final third numbers are all very good. And again, he's not stat padding, because again, like I said, Rosenborg have the 3rd highest possession in the league last season. So it's not as if they're just conceding the ball and everybody has a chance to defend. Like, he's very good at, again, winning back possession in the final third, winning those duels, and again, those 2 tackles per 90. So he puts in a shift off the ball. Again, maybe hinting at an opportunity for him to play in a different role as well. He's also been featured in the Team of the Week 3 times last season. He was named man of the match on several occasions, including when he bagged a hat trick against Lillestrøm in the summer. Again, excellently, that earned him like a 9.7 rating on FootMob, I think. And he actually capped off Rosenborg's final match of the season with a goal as well. And ultimately, what this saw him, he was the 18th highest rated player in the Norwegian league last season. Very, very, very good. Then he says, Norwegian football, would you compare that level to League One or Championship, more League One level? I mean, depends. There are some really good teams in the Norwegian league, teams that do play in tougher competitions as well. But again, it's the caliber of player. No, but again, you can only play with what you're up against. And so we've seen players like Holland and Ollie come from Norwegian league, so there's always going to be standouts. But in terms of the overall level, yeah, I would probably put it, down there with the kind of, I would put it, the best way I could compare it is maybe like Europa Conference League level, those kind of teams, maybe a little, maybe like the lower of the Europa League for some of these Norwegian leagues. But yeah, it's not the Premier League. I wouldn't put it up there with the Eredivisie either, or the Portuguese league. It might be like maybe even just a little bit below the Belgian league in terms of overall. But that doesn't mean that there aren't players that in these hidden gems that come through there. Personally, again, looking at what he does overall, you can't deny that the kid's got something there. Are you guys maybe starting to see why so many of us rate Nypan so highly and why we want him at United? I mean, he's the numbers, the profile, the touches, like what he offers, what he's done in the league just since starting his 15-year-old's debut. Like, if that doesn't convince you, I mean, we'll take a look at maybe how he's going to fit in at United if that's something that we're exploring. We know we're interested in, but the big question is, would he fit, and if so, how? Because it's not just enough to be good, like we're talking about, right? You have to fit the system, and Ruben Amorim's system requires very specific player profiles from defense to attack, wing backs, all of it. It's a very specific demand and characteristics. Personally, I think he'd fit in best as one of the tens, like I've said many, many times on the channel. And here's a little example of what I mean. I can see him playing as one of the tens because of the involvement he gets in the final third. All those 7 of his 8 goals came from inside the box. That final through ball, I think, would be very, very deadly against the opposition in the league. I like him more in that advanced role than I do in a deeper role. Again, looking at that heat map, higher up the pitch is where he tends to operate. And again, the goals from inside the box, his movement in the final third, the chance creation, I think that he would slot right in there very, very well. Against certain opposition, though, I think he can also do a job in the pivot. Now, again, kind of like Bruno, I don't want him there. I don't see him in the pivot, but against certain opposition, I can see him in the pivot, again, based on this press resistance. And again, that the dual numbers and these tackles per 90 numbers, I could absolutely see it. And this is just a little example of maybe what that would look like if he were to play maybe in a little deeper role, a little bit more attack mindedness ahead of him, and he would be a little bit more of that starting that attack, taking the ball off the defense, press resistance against teams that do want to press a little higher up the pitch, creating space for himself is where he could definitely do that. Now, again, I think overall his best position is probably an 8, like Danny's saying, but at the same time, we don't play 8s. And so the closest you're going to get to an 8 in this system is going to be the creative midfielder in that double pivot, personally. Jay, welcome to the channel, says, I hope we get him before anyone else. This is somewhat our cheaper signing to do compared to the players we're so highly interested in. It would have been cheapest to do in the summer and get him here this past January when their season is done. But I worry now it's probably going to be a little more expensive, especially with so many other teams interested in him. Danny said gains experience. Yeah, he's going to get some more experience. But as we know, he took a little tour and he decided to go back to Rosenborg. So we're going to explore that a little bit as well. You add to all this that Nypan is a massive, massive Manchester United fan whose dream, again, is one day to play for us. And it kind of feels like a match made in heaven, right? Now, he famously, like I just said, went on a little tour of some English clubs during his off season, spending time. He was at Man City. He took in a match at City. Aston Villa, even Arsenal, Girona are also reportedly interested as well. But again, Girona are part of the City group. So really that just means City want him, but they want to skirt that fair market value rule and get him in the future like they did Savinho. It was believed that Nypan would make a move in January. But again, in a plot twist, he opted to return to Rosenborg until the summer, as reported by David Ornstein. He doesn't really need to rush his decision, though. Like Danny said, he's got an opportunity to gain experience. He is still young. And you imagine, too, at this stage in his career, what's going to be more important to him, again, for that experience, for development, is assurances regarding minutes, game time. You want to play. He's playing week in, week out at Rosenborg. If he were to show up at Arsenal, he probably wouldn't. If he were to show up at United, he probably would get more minutes than he would at Arsenal or City. But Again, probably not going to be starting week in, week out, at least not at this point. I don't think. I'm not saying he's bad. It's just he's very young, and it is a big step up. He'll want to make sure he chooses his next club wisely, is basically what we're saying. Honestly, though, he could walk into the matchday squad at United. And again, if he takes his next 6 months and he continues to progress, who knows? Maybe he could come in and automatically be a mainstay in the starting 11, depending on how that goes. It's anyone's guess. You never know how a player is going to develop. You never know if it's a flash in the pan. You never know if once you make the move, if it's going to translate. You can never know. It's just the way it is. Nypan's father reportedly would prefer him to finish school, high school, or whatever the equivalent is in the UK or whatever, in Norway before leaving to go to another country. And that will be done in the summer. So the next few months, he'll finish up his high school, and then he'll have pretty much the world at his feet, no pun intended. So perhaps that has a little bit more to do with his decision to stay at Rosenborg for the time being. Don't know. Like Danny implied, maybe we told him we wanted him because we are his dream club, but we couldn't afford him in January. So maybe he just was like, well, I want to go to United. United are going to get me. I'll go back and we'll come in the summer. Maybe not. Don't crush my dreams. We can all dream, right? Again, with our transfer window landing smack dab in the middle of Rosenborg's season, it does get a little interesting. It does get a little complicated. But we do know that United are actively scouting attacking midfielders, and more importantly, young attacking midfielders. Now, we've got interest not only in Nypan, but also Southampton's Tyler Dibling, Porto's Rodrigo Mora, and Sunderland's Chris Rigg. We have been scouting all these players, looking in it suits. Amorim needs movement. He needs aggression. He needs goals. He needs chance creation from his 10s. You need to be able to do a little bit of everything. And our new recruitment structure, United, has really been targeting some of the top young players in the world, whether it's defenders, wingbacks, attackers, these 10s. We're looking at all of them. We brought in Lenny Euro, for instance, Patrick Dorgu, who's only 20 years old, Aiden Heaven, Diego Leon. We're looking at some young players. We're trying to build a squad for the future. Now, I do think a lot of that is trying to identify young talent now so we can maybe profit on them. Because, again, not every young player that comes to the academy, not every young player we sign is going to be a mainstay in the starting 11 for the next decade. That's not how it works. Football is you're trying to recruit the best talent, but you're also trying to make money off that. And right now, that's what we do. But in terms of what Amorim needs, in terms of what we're trying to do in terms of recruitment, Nypan, again, fits the bill. It's probably why we're looking at him. Danny says, that's what I said to you a few weeks ago. Yeah. In terms of him waiting for us, yeah, we can hope, right? We can keep the fingers crossed. It's anyone's guess, though, where Nypan's future lies. I, for one, hope it's at United. Maybe after watching this quick little scouting report, you feel the same. If you already felt that way, well done. You're already ahead of the curve, right? I may be hyping him up a lot. I get that. But it's only because I honestly think Nypan has the potential to be a top player. I do hope it happens to be under the Old Trafford lights, but we'll see. Of course, we'll be keeping an eye on his progress once the Norwegian league starts up again next month. And I'm sure I'm not the only United fan who will. I'm sure many of you will be watching, keeping a closer eye on him, adding to your following list if you've got FootMob. You guys know you can do that, right? In any case, the goal today was to try to hopefully get you to learn a little bit more about Sverre Nypan if you weren't quite familiar with him. Obviously, we don't have a whole lot of access to the Norwegian league, so you're kind of taking video highlights and statistics and kind of like what people like I say, but for your information. But hopefully this, showing you some hard numbers, showing you some heat maps, showing you some profile of where he can play and what other people have said about him. Hopefully that has kind of fleshed out your opinion a little bit more. And maybe it's opened your eyes to a little bit about why so many big clubs, especially some of the biggest clubs in England, are looking at this kid and trying to get him to join their clubs. But thank you for checking out the scouting report. What did Danny say? Danny says, Dibling, Mora, Hackney, Kenda. Don't get me started on Hackney. You know you're going to get me going. Nypan, Gyökeres, Frendrup, or João Gomez, Bashali, Free would be my dream window. That's a lot of players. Cunha, if we can't get Gyökeres. Yeah, it's anyone's guess what sort of profile. Obviously, as the season continues, we'll be doing some summer transfer target window videos. We'll be doing some positional transfer target videos, looking at defenders. I've already did one on center backs a couple weeks ago. You guys can go check that out. I think the link is still in the video description for this. we'll be doing strikers, we'll be doing 10s, we'll be doing midfielders as well. So be sure to keep an eye out. I might even do a goalkeeper one too, because you guys know how I feel about that. Although that one would probably just be a short one. It would just be VTech probably, but um, there's a lot of options out there. So we'll see what happens. Speaking of young players, though, I don't know if you guys saw my post. I don't know if you guys saw Sekou Kone's Instagram post, but he has hinted, Sekou Kone, that apart from Cheeto, apart from Scanlon, apart from Morehouse, Sekou Kone could be set to feature in the matchday squad today against Spurs. So keep an eye out for that. That's gonna be interesting. Danny says that'd be well over 200. Yeah, we barely have 20 million to work with, Danny. So I doubt we're gonna see a lot of big business. But if we can sell Rashford, if we can maybe get rid of a couple other players as well, get the Casemiros, get the Eriksson, get the Lindelof off the books, Anthony, Malacia, that will help. But again, we're already thread bin. We haven't been able to replace Rashford, Anthony in terms of attackers. We just lost Ahmad for the season. Our midfield right now is decimated. All like 4 players, literally within the space of a couple days, are all missing today. Likely, a couple of them are going to be missing the rest of the season. Maybe not many. It'll probably be a couple weeks, but that's not a good look. So this could be an opportunity for some of these youngsters if the rumors are to be believed. We'll see if they get a start. We'll see if they just come on as cameos. I think we could use a little bit of their energy, a little bit of their fearlessness, a little bit of that desire to prove themselves, and actually give a shit. So hopefully we will see that happen today. I will know you guys will be watching. You guys know I will be watching. He says 100% of VTech. Yeah, you guys know how I feel about VTech. He needs to work on his passing a little bit. Now, you know that's not my priority, but his passing doesn't tend to be super great. But he commands his box. He has really good shot stopping, really good reflexes. He comes out and claims he's very physical. So I don't have a problem with it. The problem is just in this system, you have to be a little better with the ball at your feet. So that's just kind of where you always have to filter it through the system and the coach that we're using. So again, thank you for checking out the scouting report. Hopefully you learned a little bit more about Sverre Nypan. Like the video, please. Subscribe to the channel if you are new. Leave a comment, and I'll get back to you as always. But hopefully we'll come back tomorrow and be talking about 3 points. I don't know how it's going to happen, but we'll see. I think the women's team were up today. Last time I checked, the women's team were ahead. So big up the women's team for getting it done today. Yeah, they beat Crystal Palace 3-1. Good job, women. Why is it the first team is always the one lagging? So in any case, thanks again for stopping by, guys. I will see you on the next one. Enjoy your day and talk to you later.